Alright folks, and we are back for round 2 back 9 coverage of the Daceyland Open presented by Infinite Disc. After 9 holes, we got Kyle Moriarty and Shane Wyatt tied at 13 under. Jake Morris just 5 strokes back at 8 under, and just beneath him, Joe Merck. Hole 10, par 4, 405. Chuck, what's going on with hole 10?
With hole 10, you have a few different options off of the tee. You can pump something just straight down this fairway, and it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. And even if it starts to fade off at the end, you're still going to be close to pin high because of the downhill. You can throw a forehand off of the tee and try to fade something back. You can hyzer flip something, have it turn right. There is an alley along the right-hand side and have something start to fade back to the left. And with anyone who has a decent arm, you have a lot of people who have some 2 looks on a long par 4.
And that shot from Shane, that was another one of his rocks. That was turning beautifully.
That was exactly what I was just talking about, and unfortunately it looked like he caught something.
This forehand from Kyle.
Wow.
He's throwing his felon. That got down there
wow.
and out of his hand so quickly. I was making a joke with him that the last time I filmed him down in Connecticut at NIFA Finals, he eagled a par 4, and I was making a joke walking to this tee pad with him. Hey, Kyle, wouldn't it be cool if you got another eagle
and
on another par 4?
He's definitely set up for it. I will say this is hole 10 is a par 4 that a lot of MA1 and pro players would argue is more of a par 3. If you throw a putter with some control and then throw a putter with some control, you're inside the circle. But it is, 400 feet, and there are some trees in the middle, and you can get into some trouble. But
I know this is a hole that the first time I tooed it, every other time I play it, I'm always upset now that I never get the 2 anymore.
100%. I have taken a few birdies on. I've taken a few eagles on this, and it's reached the point where just taking a birdie feels like you're parring the hole. You don't feel like you've done anything hugely special. But unfortunately, as we're seeing from Joe, if you get hung up, if you catch a bad kick, you can end up in the rough, and it can go south pretty quickly.
And Shane with the rare air ball, because
unexpected.
50 to 60 feet is his bread and butter. Finally, we get to see Kyle putting. He's just outside the circle on the right-hand side.
Oh, and he cans it. What a great 2 to pick up.
Yeah, the eagle has landed.
How long have you been waiting to use that?
I actually just thought of it after Kyle made the putt. I just really wanted to use that line.
I approve. Oh, Joe.
I think Joe had a lot of camera jitters during this round. He showed it a lot on the front 9.
Jake just yips it right off. And then again on the comeback.
Yeah, Jake had a rough putting display on this hole. He was blaming it on the fact that he had tripped while he was walking to his lie, and he cut his leg. So I'm going to go with him on that one. So Kyle picks up the 2. Picks up 2 shots on Shane. He drops to 13 under. Joe Merck picks up the 4 at least, so something he can redeem his round on. Hole 11, par 3, 295 feet.
Now this is a hole that plays downhill basically from the moment you tee off, and it's weird because it's downhill, but it's 295, and it plays every inch of that 295. It's for a long time, I was throwing mid-ranges off the tee, and I was only getting down to that first little shelf off the decline. And you want to get something that's going to go just dead straight for about 210, maybe 230, and then have it start to fade and take care of the rest of that distance on that fade. And if you can get something down there that's got a good stability, you can end up inside the circle most of the time.
Here we got Shane throwing his gator, and that's all you really need on this hole. Like you mentioned, you just want something that's going to crest the corner there and start to fade back in and just let gravity kind of take over the rest.
Oh, no.
Those trees are so popular.
Those trees are tough because, like I said, this hole does play the distance that it says, even though it's downhill, and those trees are deceptive. You'll throw something, and it's going, and it's going, and you think it's a gorgeous shot, and it starts to fade, and then it just gets caught up and tangled up, and you never thought that you just had any chance of hitting them.
Yeah, Jake finds himself down at the bottom, so he'll have a birdie putt just inside the circle, and a very good upshot from Joe there. That I know time and time again, I've had upshots that get away from me on this hole that travel past the basket. So it requires a lot of touch just to keep it close.
Oh, Kyle really made a nice run at that there.
He was in attack mode on that one, but leaves it just a little long. Oh, and you know Shane is in attack
Shane wants
mode.
this putt bad.
And he was lining this putt up for a while.
Oh,
just on the inside of the chains.
What a run. Great putt from Jake.
A fantastic putt from Jake. That downhill putt's very difficult to gauge.
Those downhill putts on 11 right there are scary because it goes from just a slight decline to all of a sudden just a sharp drop.
Shane cleans up his par. Frustrating, he walks away. Kyle will do the same. As we see Pepin in the background. Zack Pepin, our catch cam. Huge shout out to him for sacrificing the entire day, joining me for both rounds at Borderland and Dacey.
And as someone who, during this round, on my drive, ended up in that swampy area that Zack was just sitting in, I can tell you the bugs that day in that area were absolutely awful. So you saw him back there swatting away.
Hole 12, par 4, 543 feet. Arguably the most difficult hole on the back nine.
This is a tough hole. If you can get off the tee, you're in a good position to save the 4, but if you get caught up even slightly, if you hit early, if you end up on the rough that's to the right or to the left, if you end up behind the wrong tree, you're going to have a really tough time saving your par here. What you want to do is have a long, fast drive that's going to turn to the right, pass by some of those guardian trees, start to fade out, and fade forward more than fading left, which is part of what makes this tough. Because you'll see guys absolutely crank drives. They look great. They fade off to the left, and they end up behind a whole bunch of stuff. Now, what we just saw there from Jake is pretty much perfect. It went straight. You had a nice turn. It flattened out. It faded forward, skipped forward, and he should have a really easy time cresting the top of that hill and getting himself into a position to save an easy par.
That was a Ballista Pro forehand from Kyle, and looks like he shanked it off to the right, but still at the top of the hill, so he should be able to scramble and at least pick up his par.
You can end up in the rough as long as you have the distance. It's really if you don't have that distance up the fairway that you're going to be in trouble.
And we saw Shane leaving his just out to the left, and here's Joe. And those are the 3 trees that really protect the fairway, but luckily kicked straight down instead of kicking right.
Wow, did he luck out on that landing.
But his second shot, not so much, but still 2 trees and still in the fairway.
He's actually up at the top of the hill from off on that side. If he can get a forehand out that's going to fade back, he could find himself inside the circle.
What is Kyle lining up?
Is he rolling up a roller?
That's his Pioneer.
There's no way he's about to throw a roller on hole 12.
He's lining it up.
He's throwing a roller on hole 12.
He's throwing a roller on hole 12.
What?
And he's about 50 feet. Kyle Moriarty, ladies and gentlemen, doing Kyle Moriarty things.
That was ridiculous.
Jake playing the more conventional way.
Keeping the disc, in the air.
Yeah.
Oh, and has that
gets a
absolutely
lovely
beautiful.
kick.
What a great shot.
Anytime you can drop in for a 3 on hole 12, you did something right.
Yeah, you have played that hole about as perfectly as you can hope to play it.
Shane here lining up the forehand Firebird. finds the gap on the left side, and that's a Shane Wyatt putt.
That's not bad. That's a good out to be able to get, and Joe looks like he throws the forehand that I was talking about, gets it out there, and he's inside the circle.
Yeah, hitting 2 trees on 2 shots on this hole and still having a putt for a 4. Pretty good scramble.
That's a great scramble right there.
Kyle lining up his putt after his miraculous roller. Come on. Come on.
Oh, no.
That putt needs to drop.
Oh,
and you can see him laughing it off. That putt needs to drop. I'm sorry.
When you can get a roller down and across the fairway of 12 to give yourself a look for par. Oh, no.
Dacey needs new baskets. You've heard it here first. Get rid of the disc catchers. Scans, if you're out there, bring in the prodigies. You know they're better. Find a way.
Damn, Jake.
Oh.
And in case you haven't noticed yet, Jake is still not putted out. You can see his disc just to the left of Kyle's knee. As Kyle taps in his 4.
And Jake hands a drop
Almost
in bird.
shakes hands with the pole.
Drop
Takes his
in
3.
bird.
And Shane will walk away with a 4 after that disappointing spit out.
That was tough. This is a hole that has only been deuced once, to my knowledge, off of an incredible throw-in during even just a casual round. And to have a drop-in 3 during a tournament, that is a well-played hole.
That is a stroke picked up on most of the field, if not all of the field. Hole 13, par 4, 524, turn right, keep turning right.
This is a great, challenging hole that is really fair to both righties and lefties, because it's one that it's long enough and it's open enough that if you have the anhyzer, you can pump out a big long turnover shot. Or you can do what Jake did, which is just throw a forehand straight down and have it fade off, and he's probably going to be on that right-hand alley, because there's actually 2 lines to the basket off of the tee here. What you don't want to be is you don't want to be in the middle of the fairway.
Yeah, the middle of the fairway here, while most holes, that's the spot you want to be in, you almost want to be on the left or the right side because there are more gaps on either side.
The middle of the fairway is just littered with trees. You have absolutely nothing if you land there. It's jail amongst the big trunks. To the left or to the right is 100% where you want to be, and it looks like
that drive from Shane was going to go a long, long way if it did not catch that first tree on the right.
Oh, that's what I caught. I completely lost sight of it. That was unfortunate.
He hit the second available on the right side, and you can see.
Oh, and he is deep.
This is the left side of the rough.
That is not a great place to be in.
And he had to throw so high. Both Zack and I had no idea where this disc was.
Wow.
He's about 80 feet.
If you have never played this hole before, that was an insane upshot.
He's about 80 feet from the basket.
Oh,
Joe having more difficulty, and don't punch trees, folks. Don't punch trees.
Safety tip.
Pro tip: you punch a tree, you're gonna hurt your hand.
But Joe recovers, puts it up, and it looks like he's a little outside the circle. He's at least looking at a 4.
And that's a putt I know Joe can make, so he should be able to clean up his par. That was, I believe that was Jake. Because here we got Kyle.
And we have Kyle off of an absolutely, was that his drive?
That was Kyle's
his drive. That was a absolute mash of a drive.
Shane's in attack mode. Anytime he can scramble from that position and have a look for 3. Story of Shane's round right there. Just, I'm telling you, we put a microphone on him next time. That'll save us a lot of time, Chuck.
Oh, it'll be like miking up Edelman during football games. It'll be fantastic.
And I did look at the gap that Shane had to putt through, There wasn't much of a gap. The fact that he got it most of the way to the basket is still impressive.
Oh, Joe, great par save from there.
As we see the slow-mo replay, Joe needed that putt. He's been struggling all day. Dacey's been doing what Dacey normally does.
That was nice to see.
Picks up a nice par.
No, Kyle. Oh.
Yeah, that one tree may have gotten in his line of sight just a little bit, but still, that's a putt that Kyle should make.
And to have a drive as far as his drive was and then settle for a par is just, that's got to be infuriating.
Where it was to take the 4. Yeah, pretty good. Yeah.
Jake will clean up his 4.
Jake just plays good, smart golf on that hole and just gets a drive up there and gets his upshot up and puts it up for an easy putt and just drops it. And just a casual shrug from Baby Driver.
Yeah, I believe that was Kyle asking after Jake's drive that looked like he saw it off, but actually played it perfectly. Kyle looked at him and asked, "So is that what you want to do on this hole?" Jake honestly didn't have a response because he doesn't even know. Dacey.
And now we're on to hole 14, which is almost like a baby brother of hole 12. It's a very similar up and then down, but it's a little bit shorter on the up and much longer on the down. From the blue tee up to the top of the hill is only about 100 feet, and then you still have a solid 300-foot shot from there.
Jake
And
taking
Jake
the
throws
left
a
side.
fantastic shot.
That was his FD. Starts it off on hyzer, hits the left side gap, stands it up, and finds what are the hatchling tees, which are our junior tees for the kids, and he's about 100 feet away.
That was about as... Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that was
my
Kyle with his
goodness.
Ballista Pro, and his Ballista Pro goes far.
That's something that people do, apparently, is just put
That
it
line
up
exists,
into the
Chuck.
second circle.
That is a line that exists on this hole now. You saw it here first.
Oh, no.
And if that missed
That's
that
unfortunate.
one tree, that was going to go really far as well.
And that is one thing on this hole is before you crest the hill off to the right, it is absolutely terrible over there if you end up too deep. So I really, really hope that Shane was able to at least land down on the edge of the fairway.
Joe hits the gap on the right side initially, catches a late tree, but he'll still have a look at the basket.
And that's fine. Off this tee, it's a short enough hole, and you don't have to worry about as much of an elevation that if you end up dropping a little bit short, but if you have a good upshot game, you can still have a good 3 look.
As we saw Shane there hitting most of the gap,
And case in
but
point,
still getting Dacey'd.
Joe puts his upshot at the rock that the basket is anchored into.
Yeah, phenomenal shot from Joe there. He'll have an easy tap in 3. And we still haven't gotten to Kyle's drive yet. And Jake had a phenomenal drive. Not to take anything away from Jake. Throws a simple upshot with a harp. He'll have an easy birdie.
And when you have the 2 look,
You take the 2 look.
absolutely, you have to run this.
Come on. I mean,
That
I
would
know
have
he
been
missed it
fantastic to
left, but
watch.
still to have a chance for a 2. Not only on hole 10, but to have to look for 2 on 14 as well. You don't get many eagle looks
No,
on the
you
back
don't.
nine.
Not here.
Shane staring his down as it wants to spit out the backside.
Don't you even think about falling out of that basket.
If you want to remain a disc golf course, you stay in the basket. You catch that disc. Kyle with the easy tap in 3. Joe will follow suit with a 3 of his own. And we get a little bit of a
Nice.
post-hole commentary. Joe showing how much Kyle's disc barely missed. Kyle and Joe and Jake pick up the 3s. Shane didn't get the memo. He'll pick up a par. We'll move on to hole 15.
Hole 15 is another fairly long hole. It's the end of what the Dacey locals refer to as the gauntlet. 12, 13, 14, 15. It's just 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. Hole 15, you have a few very tight gaps to look through. You need to get past them, and where we are right now is the decline downhill to where it flattens out towards the basket. What you really want to do is just get your disc past the very narrow alley, have it drop kind of near the top of the hole, or I'm sorry, at the top of the hill, and then you can shoot down into that flat area, shoot up, have an easy drop in 4, or you can do what these guys are probably going to do, which is try to pipe one right down the super narrow alley that you're looking at, directly at where you see that skinny gray tree, which is deceptively far away. Get something straight down there, have it start to hyzer, follow that fade down and forward, and during the walkthrough we saw a fairly large boulder, and what most of these guys are trying to do is get it down towards that boulder where you have a good easy look for an upshot and then a drop in 3.
Yeah, that grouping of trees that you see right next to Pepin on the right side there, that's really the one grouping of trees you need to miss if you want any shot at advancing down the fairway.
Oh, and Shane turns his early, but that might still get down, and
I can't get off the tee.
There are some small gaps.
there are
on
some
that
there
right
are some
side,
gaps there.
but
He
you
may
still
surprise you
want
on
to
that.
be in the left side. Left side of that rough right side of the fairway, I should say.
Kyle came up a little bit shorter than what you would want, but really got something down there where it's going to be a long putt, but he does have a look at it.
No, that was his Sarek again, and he just pured his gap but caught a late tree. That is a great shot from Jake.
Great second shot.
He'll have about 40 feet for his birdie. Joe tries to throw the left side gap. I don't know if you can hear in the background the lovely, lovely dog in the adjacent backyard.
Anytime you're playing in this hole, from the moment you get up onto the crest of the hill on hole 14 until you get onto 16, that dog is just nonstop.
Here we got Shane trying to get up and down.
Oh, he did not like that at all.
No, a mistake we rarely see from Shane. Catches the first tree. And he'll have some work to do to pick up his 5.
And Kyle drops his right at the base of that boulder.
Yeah, I think Kyle's playing the playing it safe now. He knows that he's got Shane.
He has
by
that
a few
3-stroke
strokes right
lead.
now. But at this point, you got to start thinking about chase card. As we see the Huck Squad mini, shout out to Noah Cronin for the audience and the following that he has built, and understanding that he just, I believe he fractured his wrist, or he just had an injury to his wrist.
I thought I heard it was the throwing hand. That's what kept him off of getting to Nantucket this weekend for the cobblestone.
Yeah, so shout out to Noah. Speedy recovery, man. Hope you recover well and that you're back playing.
And we hope to see your smiley face on YouTube soon.
Oh, I love what he's built. As Shane just spits out, so
Having a frustrating time on 15 right now.
this is a hole that can surprisingly get you, despite being a par 4.
This is a hole that when I play, I really want to 3 because it's doable, but it's so easy to take a 5, a 6. I've seen people, if you catch early, I've definitely seen some 7s and 8s here. This is a hole that can really eat you up.
Oh, sure. I know I've taken my fair share of 6s and 7s on this hole. At this point, I'm just very happy with pars. After hole 15, Kyle stays at 16 under. Shane, unfortunately, picks up the double. He'll drop to 11. Hole 16, par 3, 212 feet, the Alex Mackinnon Memorial Hole.
To anyone who does not understand that, we have a league regular who has aced this hole 3 different times with 3 different discs and has cleared out the ace pot every single time with them.
So, in the shape of this hole is just a simple hyzer. You're going to throw overstable putter, overstable mid. And if you're a right-handed backhand, it should be a simple up and down. The joke behind Alex is he's a lefty.
So he is throwing forehands up this with his lefty, and the first time he did it, I'm fairly certain it was with a Nate Sexton Firebird, just put something very high, had it drop and fade in basically the exact same line that all of these guys are throwing right now. Something high that's going to drop down hard, not skip too far, and give them a good look at the two.
So you see Kyle, Joe, and Jake all hitting the gap on the right side, getting up to the basket. Shane, unfortunately, catches one of those late trees, protecting the fairway, drops back, so he'll have to settle for a par. Joe from the right side, just short, so he will settle for par as well. And had a little run-in with a bush as he was trying to get out. I told him I'd edit that out.
But this has got to be a frustrating hole for any of these guys to be parring. This is a hole that you really have to be looking to deuce if you're playing in the pro division.
Yeah, you want the 2 here. If you don't, you're most likely losing a shot, even if you par it. So we see Kyle and Jake both cleaning up their 2s. Shane and Joe cleaning up their 3s. So now we got a tie for second as far as lead card goes.
Wow, Jake was getting
11
sneaky
down
there. I didn't even realize that he was making that run to catch up with Shane.
Very, very sneaky is Jake Morris. Hole 17, par 3, 275 feet.
Hole 17, you're looking at a downhill dogleg right. So most of these guys are probably going to be forehanding. You do see a decent amount of people who try to do a turnover putter or mid-range. I personally am not a huge fan of that because of the spin of the disc and because of the angle of the hole. If you start to fade out early, you can go long and drop left into that swamp, and it's a really, really, really tough look to even save a 3 from there.
Yeah, so we saw Jake go with the turnover putter. He just started to fade out after kicking a tree.
Which is the big concern that I have with this hole throwing forehand. You throw something like what Kyle just did, even if you don't have a great drive, like it looked like he did come up early, you're still at least dropping into the fairway, so you do have the look at that at the par.
Joe again following Jake's line, just catches a late tree. Shane also turnover, but he gets most of the way down. But then when you have a disc on that steep of an angle, this hill is not very receptive.
It's coming in on that Anheuser line. The rotation of the disc is coming into the downhill, and it's just, it rolls, and it just scares me. It's so easy to end up in that wetland that's off to the left.
I don't know if you saw that, but Jake with his forehand clearing the basket, almost getting Pepin our catch cam, but he was able to duck out of the way. Not sure if Kyle's going to run this or not.
At this point, he's...
No, that looked like a layup.
It looked like he was laying up. He's got the lead. He has it by a good 6 strokes. He's got to just play smart at this point and just not do something that's going to get up on end and roll down and give anyone the chance of catching up with him.
You see Shane airballing his birdie attempt. Jake coming up just short. It's amazing to watch Shane putt because he puts so much force behind the disc and keeps it on such a straight line that those 25, 30-foot putts look like drop-ins for him.
The very first time I ever played with him, we were on hole 9 Dacey, the hole with the hanging basket. He was 70, 80 feet downhill and just drilled it for the deuce. And I stood in the middle of the fairway, just jaw hanging open. It was I've never played with anyone who putts like him.
Hole 17, 3-3-3-3. All players will say their same scores. And we'll move on to hole 18, a hole that, much like hole 4 from the front 9 coverage, has had a lot of nice work done to it.
I absolutely love this hole. The hole, to anyone who's played this, who has played Dacey for several years, this hole used to be just a nightmare. The grass was up to your knees. It was just a patch of poison ivy. And now, because of the work, again, from guys like Jeremiah Libby, it's this beautifully maintained, grassy fairway. It's nice and open. You have some great landing zones. The two shots that you're probably going to have here are someone like Kyle, who's just putting a straight forehand down into this pine grove and hopefully having it skip up, which he unfortunately gets caught up by a tree. Or you have what we're about to see from Joe, which is a long turnover, which you're looking to have it turn. Which
And hit a cameraman.
doesn't get it. Almost catches our cash cam Zack.
Nope, Zack was 0 for 2 in getting hit. And this is another play that
Is he going
you
for the
see.
backhand roller?
He's throwing the backhand roller. And again, I think Zack had a disc magnet on him.
That is a high risk, high reward.
That shot does work, though. I have seen it work. I've seen people get within the circle with a forehand or with a backhand roller.
Sure.
Okay.
Jake playing the more conventional forehand, catches a little high.
Comes up short, but you do. It's hard to see on this camera angle, but if you're looking directly straight into the right of Jake, there's a small triangle that is actually a gap that I've seen people make a run at to try to put it in the circle. Or you can do the slightly more safe way around off to the left, which it looks like he did, and he put it about 25, 30 feet.
Here's Joe ripping on a forehand.
Oh, it's a great shot.
And
that's
does
an
it
absolutely great shot.
beautifully. You see the rocks there and the trenches there. A lot of work's been put into this green here. This green used to be an absolute swamp.
That putting area where Joe's disc just landed used to be just a muck hole. And what you're seeing with those rocks is a drain that was dug and then filled with the rocks. And the next day, that green was dried out. And it's been that way ever since. And Jeremiah Libby, Dean Slowey, Andy Jong, Corey Robitaille.
Countless names.
There's more names that I could even begin to list off of guys who pitched in a lot of hours of just crappy work digging that out, and it's really done an amazing amount for the course.
So Kyle finds himself in a little bit of trouble on the right side, and you can get in a lot of trouble over there, but he pitches out, so he'll have a putt for a 4.
Oh, and off the top. At that point, just running the putt just to try to finish it up.
Yeah, story of Shane's day, just not able to convert on his putts.
Oh, great putt from Jake.
And a great way to close out Jake's round. Picks up the birdie. Let's see a slow-mo. Dave Mahoney in the background.
You already saw the hands up from that angle. They knew 100% that putt was in.
A mini fist pump from Jake. Good birdie to end the round.
Great support from Dave Mahoney in the background.
Kyle cleans up his par.
Casually taking it by 6 strokes.
Well, I mean, he's used to winning. And very quick spoiler, that was the putt to confirm the victory. As Joe cleans up his birdie.
That's a nice birdie to get. Even after having a rough round the way that Joe did, that was really nice to see. That's a fun hole to birdie.
As we take a look at the final scores, Kyle Moriarty with a 113 takes the 2-shot victory over Dacey regular Raivis, Markons-Craig, Cooper Legee with the 3rd place finish, Gaze Benson, Joey and Tosca tied for 4th with Noah and Shane. And Jake, wow, a lot of guys tied at that 119.
Yeah.
Brian Harrington, sorry, couldn't fit your entire name with a 122. And Joe Mercieri staying in the top 10. But that is going to do it for the 2019 Daceyland Open presented by Infinite Disc and Wiser Productions. I am Dan Snyder, joined by Chuck Edmond. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you very much, guys. Oh, that was fun.